In England today, a curious ritual unfolds, one that would have baffled the historians of old. This ritual is not enacted with the clang of cathedral bells, but with the softer, more insinuating tools of modernity. The television screen, the broadsheet editorial, and the earnest pronouncements of politicians in well-cut suits. This is the cult of white guilt, where the mainstream media, the institutions, and the politicians serve as high priests, tirelessly instructing the flock that were born white and English to inherit a sin requiring endless apologies. And the surprising thing is how eagerly so many white English people comply and believe in the cult of white guilt, beating their chests, or at least their consciences, in a performance of self-hatred. The mainstream media, that great engine of narrative, churns out its daily, tedious moralising lectures. From the BBC's sombre documentaries to the Guardian's furrowed brow, we are reminded ceaselessly of the British Empire's long shadow, its plunders, its cruelties, its indelible stains. Institutions too join the chorus. Universities rewrite their curriculum, while museums affix apologetic placards to artefacts as if each were a confession booth. And the Labour Party, ever keen to polish its moral credentials, casts itself as the shepherd of this contrite flock, urging the nation to atone for the sins of ancestors it never met. The message is clear: to be white and English is to be complicit, a debtor to history whose account can never be settled. So why do they do it, these architects of guilt, these preachers of pandering? One might theorise a number of motives. For the media, it is a story that sells, a perpetual drama of villainy and redemption, where every headline promises purging of the white English, but delivers nothing more than division. For the institutions, it is a bid for relevance, a way to signal virtue in an age when virtue is the currency of prestige. And for Labour, it is a political gambit, a means to rally a coalition of the aggrieved, while keeping the old working class base suitably chastened and in line. Yet this propagation is wrong, not because history should be ignored, far from it, but because it reduces a complex past to a simplistic morality play, where the individual is judged not by actions, but by skin tone and birthright. It's a doctrine that flattens human experience into a caricature, denying the possibility of grace or agency to those it indicts. And what of those white English souls who embrace this gospel of guilt? Why do they queue so willingly for their lashes? Perhaps it is a form of comfort, a way to navigate a world grown bewilderingly global and fractious. To accept the burden of ancestral blame is, in a strange way, to assert control, to say, I am responsible, and thus to feel significant in a narrative larger than oneself. Or perhaps it is exhaustion, a surrender to the unrelenting sermonizing of the cultural elite, who have made dissent feel not just impolite, but immoral. There is too a strain of masochism in it, a peculiarly English taste for self-punishment. Whatever the cause, the result is a spectacle of self-flagellation, less with whips than with words, but no less impassioned for it. I am reminded of a line from W.H. Auden, a poet of anxious consciences. We would rather be ruined than changed. So there we have it. Ruin takes the form of perpetual apology, a state in which many seem content to dwell, rather than risk the harder task of reckoning honestly with the past and moving forward. The tragedy is not the guilt itself. Guilt can be a spur to wisdom, but its transformation into a pose, a performance that substitutes for thought. England, that once green and pleasant land, deserves better than to be cast as a nation of villains and apologists who beg endlessly for forgiveness it neither needs nor can attain. Let's not forget, history is a teacher, not a scourge, and to live wisely in its light requires not self-abasement, but something far rarer, self-knowledge. Do not feel guilty for who you are, who your parents are, or where you are from.